I love to fly. I learn something every time I fly, and I enjoy it. And to be able to fly a Mustang at my age is something very special. And not just a Mustang, say a Mustang painted like mine. You realize that I've had 4 different airplanes, Old Crows, and there's 2 still up. Two of them are still flying. One of them crashed, and one got sold and is being repainted at the moment. But when I was able to fly those things, I don't know. It was a special event. I think you can imagine. I tell my non-drinking friends, or my Baptist friends, that it's named after the most intelligent bird that flies in the sky, the crow. And that generally is recognized. The crow is a very cagey bird. But my drinking buddies all know it's named after that good old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
And it just climbs off all by itself. It does it itself. Okay?
Yeah, you're right there with me though.
Every time I open the hangar door to go flying, I realize that I'm one of the lucky guys doing something that I dreamt of as a kid.
I came up here with a couple T-28 friends. They were so welcoming to us. And they later asked, you know, we're trying to encourage warbirds to come to the museum, to come to our events. Wings and Wheels is an EAA Chapter 766 event on Father's Day. During that time, we acquired the T-28 Trojan. What else out in front? That was a Trojan that the Hmong pilots, the Ravens, taught them to fly. We acquired the North Central DC-3. We have a lot of youth involved in mathematics and technical engineering and STEM projects. We're called the Aviation Heritage Center of Wisconsin. Wisconsin has such a rich aviation heritage. Yeah, the biggest challenge the Aviation Heritage Center has is raising funds. We invite our donors to come and, you know, get up close, and we have one afternoon that we open up the ramp, come out, talk to the pilots, climb on the wings, sit in the cockpit. So many people have donated things, and when we heard we had the DC-3, Julie Clark said, you know, I've got something in my hangar I'd like to give you. And of course, the North Central was known as the Blue Goose, because they had this giant blue goose. And sure enough, Julie had this, you know, 9-foot diameter blue goose in her hangar and said it belongs in the Aviation Heritage Center. This building was donated by people who said, I see the need, I think this should be kept. And so they built this beautiful building, and we want to maintain it, hopefully into the future as long as we can see. Well, it's a great question. Why here in Sheboygan? Why am I here in Sheboygan? I live in Milwaukee, just south of the Summerfest grounds, so on the lake. But I came up here with a couple T-28 friends when they first opened up this building. It was right, we just acquired the T-28. They were so welcoming to us, and they later asked, you know, we're trying to encourage warbirds to come to the museum, to come to our events. Wings and Wheels is an EAA Chapter 766 event on Father's Day. And we said, sure, we'll love to help support that. And then they asked me to be on the board. And after being on the board 2 years, they asked me to be their president. And so I became president. During that time, we acquired the T-28 Trojan. What else out in front? That was a Trojan that the Hmong pilots, the Ravens, taught them to fly. We acquired the North Central DC-3. It was North Central Airlines was Wisconsin Airlines. There's only 4 of the DC-3s left that North Central flew. So we acquired it out in the high desert. Took 3 years of going out there, work trips to get it airworthy. It was flown back and it sits on a ramp. We have a lot of youth involved in mathematics and technical engineering and stuff, STEM projects. It's been quite an experience, and again, you know, it taught the people I met through here, Terry Kohler, Senator Ron Johnson, pilots, Larry Kelly. You know, he comes to our clinic and gives rides in his B-25. Just so many people. It's been a great experience. My wife and I both decided, you know, at the time, to learn to fly this plane in formation. It's probably, you know, it's a good formation trainer, but it burns a lot of gas. So at that time, gas was a lot cheaper. And the T-28 clinic, the summer clinic, was held in Kenosha, which has been in the news recently. So we went down there, and I think there was 20 some other T-28s there, and Ralph Glasser was the lead, and he welcomed us in the family, and I couldn't believe how people gave of their time. They let me, you know, they were pretty much a target for us as we would learn to be wingmen in position. And we decided this was a group we wanted to kind of bond with. We got together then several times after that for the next several years. People would fly down from Minnesota and come up from Illinois, and we'd do overflights for parades, and we'd go have fun just flying formation. It was a great deal of fun. The Hmong had their national convention because they wanted to be near T-28s, so we held that in Milwaukee. That was my hometown, and it turned out I was one of the few people that had T-28s in Milwaukee, and so it made sense that we continue to have a clinic in Wisconsin. We had it in Kenosha for 3 years, some years before we joined. Then we went out to Dubuque, and between the T-6s, North American T-6s, and the North American T-28s, we filled up the ramp and then some. So the T-28s, I said, I know a place that I'm associated with, is the Aviation Heritage Center of Wisconsin up in Sheboygan. We're 26 miles from Oshkosh. It's a short trip, and there's lots of hotels, so come up to Sheboygan. So every year, the weekend before Oshkosh, we meet here, and we've had as many as 25, I think, T-28s. We've had B-25, the P-51s, and other planes show up, the classic jets. It's a great place to have safety training, practice our formation. It's been a lot of fun learning the history of people that flew it. And, you know, North America made so many great warbirds. I write a history article for each issue of NADA's magazine called Skylines. And, you know, I'm not near going through all the great planes that North American built. Well, Sheboygan Clinic here, the main purpose of it is to get people ready to fly at Oshkosh and renew their, you know, hopefully they've been flying all year before they come to Sheboygan and practicing local. But this is kind of where they're judged. If if they've brushed off the rust, if they're new, this is where they can be patched and get their wingman patch. So, and we do a lot of training here. People that have never flown formation before, people that flew some formation, where it's nothing you can get in a weekend or one clinic, but they're coming along and we may have seen them before, and this is where the evaluation of them and other clinics. And in Oshkosh, we're going to put as many T-28s as we can up. We've had times 16 of them flying in one big formation in a tight diamond, things like that. So we really have to trust one another. We have to know that each other are well qualified. So that's what's done here. We start on Thursday, Friday we go full bore, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday we're going to do a mass arrival over at Oshkosh. And for a lot of people, I mean, everybody goes to Oshkosh, but there's nothing like coming in a big formation and getting to go right down the runway. It's a memory you will never forget. And the rest of the week, T-28ers will be getting up early in the morning and doing what we call morning calisthenics. And we'll be going out practicing, you know, some of the people that aren't patched. We may continue to train them, and some of them get patched during that week of Oshkosh. And it's so great as a warbird. You arrive over Warbird Island and announce, you know, 8 T-28s over Warbird Island, and they'll work us in. When you see the long line of smaller planes coming in, doing great. The EAA's been great at realizing, you know, formation's a little different. These are heavy planes, and we come in and land. So it's an experience that people don't forget. We all park at the same time, shut down. It's kind of like a football game, you know, victory. We arrived here, everybody's safe. If somebody's got a problem, everybody's there to help. So it builds a lot of camaraderie. And the next night we're all going to go out to dinner, you know, at TJ's, and we're going to talk about how great we are and how good we were, or maybe not. The Aviation Heritage Center, we don't charge admission. There's no admission to come in and visit our museum. We're just glad to show the exhibit, and we couldn't do it without our volunteers. And we have several volunteers. The only compensation they get is free water, you know. So they keep the building looking clean. They're helping maintain and restore a lot of our exhibits. Right now we're recovering the airlines of the DC-3. We just finished restoring a T-33 fuselage. All volunteers, all donations. It's been a tough year, but I think we're coming out of it. And the real reward is every once in a while we get a young person that writes us a letter and said, I wouldn't be in aviation if it wasn't, you know, for your museum and your clinic. The outstanding college aviator 3 years ago was from a nearby town, and he heard all these planes, warbirds flying around. It pestered his mother to bring him here, and he came every day and the following years, and went into aviation and became the outstanding collegiate aviator, which I think is really something. He's in the Navy now, so also in the aviation path. The biggest challenge that Aviation Heritage Center has is raising funds. And, you know, we always welcome exhibits. The exhibits we have were all donated. We have over to the side here a T-37 flight simulator donated, T-28 engines, all our uniforms and stuff from North Central. All of that's been donated, so we really welcome that, and you know, bless the people that donate that. Other volunteers are donating their time, but as anybody knows, you still got to heat the building. You know, you still got to pay the water bill. There's bills, and we've tried to minimize those. So we really welcome any donation. And we try to remember those people that donate. We have special events during the clinic. We invite our donors to come and get up close. And we have one afternoon that we open up the ramp, come out, talk to the pilots, climb on the wings, sit in the cockpit. If you want to have dinner with us, that's great, because we appreciate it. And we know that there's a lot of places that are looking for funds, and it's especially people that give year after year to support us. They're the ones that are helping those young kids be aviation. We're called the Aviation Heritage Center of Wisconsin. Wisconsin has such a rich aviation heritage. This building was donated by people who said, I see the need, I think this should be kept, and so they built this beautiful building, and we want to maintain it, hopefully into the future as long as we can see. One of our donors said what I would like, when I was a young businessman, the plane I flew a lot was a DC-3 from North Central. It was actually Wisconsin Central. It later became North Central. The Carr family, the offices were moved to Minneapolis, but their headquarters and certainly a lot of their routes were in Wisconsin in the UP. So this donor said, I would like you to find an actual North Central DC-3. I don't, I think C-47s are great and C-53s, but I want a DC-3 that they flew. So we looked the registry, there's 4 of them. One of them hangs in the Ford Museum. Unlikely we're going to be able to buy that one. One of them was down in Illinois and had been blown into a tree with a skydiving outfit. And we went down and we looked at it. The wing was badly smashed. It was on the ground. The tornado or a real strong wind put it in that tree. And we were dealing, could we buy that and bring it up as a static display? Because it was an authentic North Central DC-3. The problem we had there is DC-3s, you cannot put them on a trailer because they have a very wide center section. So we were thinking we could put it on a barge and bring it up here. As we were negotiating on it and thinking about that, DC-3 restorer down in Florida bought the plane, put a new wing on it, and flew it down to Florida. So that left one that's used in the movies. If you see a DC-3 in a Hollywood movie, it's probably that DC-3. It happens to be a sleeper, so it has little windows above the windows. And the 4th one had been sitting out in the high desert next to Edwards, near Victorville, where the airlines go, in a little town called Adelanto. And the man had it parked over his house. And the insurance said, we would like you to move the DC-3 away from your house. So it was tied down there, and we contacted him, and he was willing to sell it. It wasn't airworthy at the time, but we started having volunteer travel trips out there to bring it back up to ferry status. And it took us 4 years, but we brought it back, and it was it's an authentic North Central DC-3. We've got lots of photographs of it in Escanaba and Milwaukee and Madison. So we think it has a lot of Wisconsin history. Unfortunately, the donor that wanted to see it had passed on, and he had planned on helping us restore it, getting it into flying status, and that didn't happen, but we're not going to give up on the mission. It's a great static display, but it's such a great plane. It sat in the desert, so it's well preserved that we'd like to see it fly again, and I think it will. Yeah, something where so many people have donated things, and when we heard we had the DC-3, Julie Clark said, you know, I've got something in my hangar I'd like to give you. And of course, the North Central was known as the Blue Goose because they had this giant blue goose. And sure enough, Julie had this, you know, 9-foot diameter blue goose in her hangar and said it belongs in the Aviation Heritage Center. So thank you, Julie. We really appreciate it. It's hanging proudly in the museum. And so many other people said, you know, my dad or my mom or my aunt flew with North Central. Would you like their uniforms? Would we? Would you like, you know, when they closed down, they took the silverware, they were given the silverware. Those are great things, and tickets and, you know, suitcases. So we've amassed quite a collection, and it tells a story of people coming, flying North Central for both business and for vacationing. Land O'Lakes was one of the favorite destinations in the winter and in the summer. So it's all neat. We're learning more and more about it.